News time here on 700 WL. Over the past weeks, I've been making a comment, and not only comment, but making a point over this National Defense Authorization Act, specifically sections 1031 and 1032, and there are also other sections in this, but those two are really in violation of your civil rights, and how, with the stroke of a pen, the president is going to take away your civil rights. And what it does, in paraphrasing, is make the United States geographically a battle zone, and also allows the military to come and pick you up and put you in jail and take away your right to due process and, little things like that. The 4th, 5th, and the 14th Amendment. No big deal, Just little things like that. I've had Darryl Salente on with me a number of times. He is the publisher of Trends Journal, and what he does is he forecasts trends for upcoming years, and he made some very astute forecasts for 2011, and his trends for 2012 are out as well. Gerald, how are you? Welcome to the big one.
Wow, thanks for having me back.
Gerald, a number of years ago, I think I talked to you the first time, and I just found fascinating your Trends Journal, and I think it was for the year 2012, and it was 2010, and it was remarkable how many of the economic and social and political trends that you forecast and that came true, and the same thing holds true for 2011.
Yes, I have to say, we're very, very concerned, and you really touched on it when I was listening about this new National Defense Authorization Act. And what's going on, we're looking at an economic collapse, and we're convinced at this point to some extent that this law was put in place because society is going to be breaking down very rapidly, we believe, in 2012. And it's going to be precipitated primarily, we believe, by an economic meltdown over in Europe as a sovereign debt crisis worsens, and then followed by a bank holiday, some kind of economic martial law. And now they have martial law in place to keep people in place. When I say the word bank holiday, I mean, there's no, holiday. You can't get your money out. Business stops, and when you do get your money out, it's devalued. Now, does this sound like hyperbole? No. Not when you go back and you go look up a video, go on YouTube, put in John Corzine, Joe Biden, 2009. And I said when Obama got elected, and I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in anybody's political religion, so I'm not going after Obama. To me, it's the Gambinos and the Bananas. When you go back, I said in 2009 when Obama got elected to watch out for a bank holiday because the economic situation was so terrible, because they've been papering it up, as you know, papering it over with these trillions. So there's this videotape in June of 2009 as John Corzine's running for re-election of governor of New Jersey. Joe Biden saying that priority number one, the day that they were sworn in, was whether or not to call a bank holiday. And he repeats it. He said, that's right, a bank holiday.
Gerald, just yesterday, last night I was reading an article, to your point, about how banks it's being recommended to banks they keep a lot of cash on hand.
And the banks don't have any cash.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem. You try getting a large sum of money out of the banks like I have, boy, what a song and a dance you go through. I had to bring somebody with me because I wanted a witness to show how terrible it was. You think I was robbing the bank rather than me getting my money out. And so what we're saying, and I don't tell anybody what to do, I'm tying all the pieces together. You mentioned about the National Defense Authorization Act. I'm saying we're looking at an economic collapse. The only way this thing is held together is by the Federal Reserve printing, and you know the numbers. They run now up to what, 26 trillion they've been pumping in the system? When this thing collapses, there's going to be chaos. And I believe that there's going to be some kind of, not only an economic martial law, but martial law as well.
The point I was making about this National Defense Authorization Act, of all people, one of the most outspoken proponents for this is John McCain, who and what these sections really outline is the creation of political prisoners. And when you think about this, of all people in the Senate, an individual that should understand about being a political prisoner is John McCain. He was a war prisoner for years in Vietnam.
I can't look into anybody's soul. I don't know what drives them, But to me, as I said, all of these politicians to me range from psychopaths to sociopaths. I'd make this, by the way, I would vote for Ron Paul because he's the only one against these kind of things, it seems.
Gerald, in our area, Northern Kentucky, Rand Paul was an outspoken opponent of this. One of the few.
I know, very, very few. And when you look what it did when that Senate bill, what was it, 1878 or something, when it passed the Senate, 93 to 7, 93 to 7, and you hear that cracker from North Carolina, Lindsey Graham. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you get arrested, you're not going to have no lawyer. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be read your rights. We got to protect America. This is a battlefield, he says. Who are these guys talking to? I would like any one of these clowns to step out of their chamber and away from the flunkies that are around them, protecting them, and come to speak to me like that. You know what this is? This is the No Bill of Rights. And ironically, it was signed. Exactly what? 220 years to the day that the Bill of Rights was ratified? Mm-hmm. You can't make this stuff up. There are no rights in this country. So when we bring it all together to make it really clear, you talk about the trillions given to companies, you talk about everything that's going on, the merger of state and corporate powers is by definition called fascism. Mm-hmm. And fascism has come to America. It's right there in that bill, and it's right there in the bills that the Federal Reserve keeps printing to give to their friends that we'll call them by a nice name. Too big to fail.
Gerald, I made the point on a number of talk shows here in regards to that the National Defense Authorization Act. That number one, what are they protecting themselves from? Because there's going to be a point where people are so pissed off that they're going to be calling for, number one, their jobs, meaning the people that are elected to Washington, and probably worse. And if they're fighting at this level to get a clear violation of our civil rights buried in a bill, and these bills are hundreds of pages long, and then the big clue, as you already pointed out, the overwhelming support. There is nothing in Congress that is not fought over because of this partisanship politics. And this bill is approved in the Senate 93% to 7. It's shocking.
It is, Darryl. I know, and this is why we're so concerned about the coming year. We believe something very heavy is going to come down in 2012. I mean, this is, you saw, look what they took us to war in Libya. What a beauty that was, wasn't it? Isn't everything so nice over there now? No, they didn't even ask Congress. The guy hits the stage, hey, we're going to war, and I got a plane to catch. I'm taking my wife and my mother-in-law and my kids to Rio. See you later. I mean, come on. This is not the America that we had believed it to be. Our rights have been aggregated. They started with that Patriot Act, the raping of the Constitution Act, and now under Obama they've gone into high gear. Guys like you and me, they could come busting into my office, your studio, drag us away without even any charges, no judge, no jury, and they could call Darryl and Gerald enemies of the state.
Because they don't like what we're saying.
You got it.
Yeah, simple as that. Well, we talked months ago about the unrest, and one of the things that shocked me about a lot of the unrest that happened in the Middle East, meaning Libya, as you just mentioned, or in Egypt, was the average age of these countries, and I apologize for being ignorant, but I had no idea how young in average age these countries were.
Yes. And you see, that's what's behind all of this. This is why we had forecasted before it happened. It's students of the world unite. And it's the same thing going on in this country
with
to
the
varying
Occupy.
degrees.
Yeah,
yes.
With the Occupy movement.
And here's
exactly.
the deal. Here's the deal. These kids have university degrees in worthlessness. They see what's going on. If you're in Egypt, you know what your average wage is? You're living on $2 a day. Now, here you have a university degree, whether it's in Tunisia, whether it's in Egypt, whether it's in Greece, whether it's in the U.S., and then you look at where the disparity lies. And, I just heard Jamie Dimon, the chairman, CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase, and he said, I don't get it. Why do people hate the rich? The people don't hate the rich, Jamie. You're right, you don't get it. They hate the greedy. So what these kids are looking at, here they've invested their lives. I mean, when I got out of college, I had $1,500 in debt. Now they have $115,000 in debt. What are you going to do, get a job at Walmart stocking shelves? So yes, that's why this unrest, and you figure it out. And again, what we wrote about, over a year ago, you're at this age, your hormones are raging, you have no limits in your mind, and you're raging mad. That's why this is not going to stop. The octopi, as we call it, not the protester, is the person of the year. Now they're occupying courthouses in England. They're occupying universities in different places around the world. They're occupying churches. This Occupy is not going to stop. We are on the beginning of the first great war of the 21st century. Mm-hmm. Add them up. Tunisia, Egypt, Bahrain, Yemen, Syria, Libya, riots throughout Europe, occupies everywhere. Oh, Kazakhstan just blew up. Bank runs in Lithuania. People I know in Italy, no money. They've taken everything out of the banks. And now we're getting reports from Portugal that people are now runs on the banks as well because they're expecting the Portuguese sovereign debt crisis to explode once again.
You bring up countries like Greece, you bring up Portugal, you bring up Italy. The big comparison between those countries, as far as demographic, and Egypt and Libya, is the age.
Oh yeah.
In countries like Greece and Italy, the population is actually decreasing because there are more people dying off than are being born. And those countries, and the United States is like that as well, and so is China.
Yep. But you have still, with the populations, and you make a great point with the Middle East populations and the African populations, filled with a lot of young, angry people. But there's still enough of them around in all of these other countries. You mentioned China. How about that riot that's going on in that city, Wuhan? The whole city's closed down. And China has 1.3 billion people, mm-hmm. and 1 million problems. There are cities in China, sections of cities in China with apartment high-rises that are empty. When you look at the data on Chinese home sales, they are on a downward spiral over the last 3 months. China doesn't make it unless the United States and Europe consumes. If Europe and China Europe and America don't consume, China doesn't have anything to make. If China has nothing to make, Brazil, Chile, Australia, all of these natural resource countries have nothing to export into China. So what you're looking at here is it's all connected. And what we're saying is this thing is collapsing. And when you put all the pieces together, I'm saying I don't tell anybody what to do. My motto is think for yourself. But if you believe that our great benevolent leaders are going to lead us into salvation, knock yourself out. Because I believe the economic system is on the verge of collapse. The only thing that has propped it up is $23 trillion worth of digital money, not worth the paper it's not printed on. And in 2012, after they've conned everybody into buying a lot of Christmas stuff that they don't need or don't have the money to buy, they're going to pull the plug. And it could be a false flag as well. It could be, here go those Iranians again.
Gerald Celente, quickly, what is a safe haven?
For me, I only as far as money for me, I only look at gold and silver. Where to go? I don't know, and it's going to be one of the trends we're talking about in the top trends of 2012, and we're going to be listing the countries, and there aren't many of them. but I would put Costa Rica high on the list, Belize another one, and a couple of others that we're going to be talking about. But there aren't a lot of places to go. And by the way, I got F'd by MF Global Bring Down, as you well know. Mm-hmm. And what I'm saying to people, if you don't have your money in your pocket, you don't have your money. And that's why you heard all these stories over the years. As banks collapsed, people put their money under their mattress. Because if you don't own it, you don't have it.
Trends for 2012 are out at trendsresearch.com and the publisher at Trends Journal, Gerald Celente. Gerald, have a happy holiday.
You too. Thank you very much.
All the best for 2012. Gerald Celente, gold, guns, and getaway. Belize, Costa Rica. Yeah, at least it's warm. 10 before 11, 700 WLW.
You know it's...
Facebook.com, search Darryl Parks or / Darryl Parks and friend me. And here's a tip for today. Don't deny your wife sex after a drinking binge. The lady up in Sandusky beat the hell out of her husband, Harold, after a drinking binge last Sunday. She was demanding sex. He said no, and he ended up in the hospital, and she ended up with a mugshot. You can comment on that story from Sandusky. Martin, have you ever been beat up by a woman?
No, actually, I'm usually very harmoniously coexisting for the most part.
Gotcha.
I'll tell you that one gal that I almost got married, she did pull a knife on me, a butcher knife in the kitchen the one time.
She pulled a knife on you?
Yeah, we were having a little bit of an argument, and she didn't want me to, come over there and, try to be affectionate or whatever.
Oh, you were threatening.
No, not at all. She was like, well, I don't want to talk about this anymore. So she's sitting in the corner and I was like, okay, well, that's it for that. I'm going in the other room now. So
good choice. You know my rule? You know what my rule is with my wife? If she ever has a thought of wanting to kill me,
yeah,
all she has to do is tell me, and I'll give her the keys to the house and the car, and that's it. I'm walking away.
I know. Yeah, she didn't want to kill me. She was just angry too. Yep. So I mean, when you're young, lots of crazy things happen. But no, for the most part, I get along really well with everybody.
Good, Martin. Give me your thoughts on Gerald Celente there.
Wonderful interview, and I loved how he mentioned the Patriot Act and just kind of piecing it all together like a step-by-step progression. Did you know with the Patriot Act, rather than going after terrorism, they mostly are going after drug criminals. And in this, the bill, the appropriations or whatever,
47
there's all
seconds.
sorts of stuff about the drug war in there, funding the drug war. So in all honesty, Darryl, I'm not worried about it because I'm not involved in that whole lifestyle. So for me, as long as we have electricity, I don't think I'm going to be having a problem with people, coming in and taking me away. But if everything really does
But if they come in, Martin, I fear for you, because if they come and take you away, I fear for you because I don't think you can survive.
Yeah, if I go to jail, I'm not going to survive. I like electricity and freedom. I'm not good with structured environments.
That's Martin. That's not what I'm referring to. Time for a break. 700 WL. I went with Die Hard yesterday, not Love Actually. Come on. This song is in Love Actually. Run DMC is in Die Hard. 11:06 this morning, 700 WLW legal analyst Mark Crumbine joins us. A guy yesterday, Lionel Dangerfield, that dropped the F-bomb in front of the judge. And he may be going to the chair. Get Mark's views on this. Coming up on the home of the best Bengals coverage, 700 WLW.